Hello, everyone. You are listening to the latest Flyers Talk podcast. I am Jordan Hall, and I am pumped to be back with the wonderful Brooke Destra. Brooke, Flyers hockey is back. The season is underway. Woo! The team split its back-to-back to open the year. So they're 1-1-0. A shootout win over the Canucks, Brooke, to get things started, and then they lost to the Flames in Calgary the very next night. Kind of an interesting schedule, Brooke. What did you think of the back-to-back after such a long time between the final preseason game and this opener?
I hated it. I hated it. I remember looking at the schedule and I was like, this is really weird.
Yeah.
To go, it was 8 days in between the last preseason game and the season opener, and to start it off by shipping the team to Western Canada and having back-to-back games to start the season. I just think by the time the Flyers played Friday night, there were already teams in the league that played 3 times.
Yeah.
Just the imbalance of the schedule across the league was just so bizarre to start the season. And I know you have teams overseas, which also kind of plays into why I'm confused about the schedule, because the last preseason game the Flyers played was against the Devils, and the main guys on the Devils roster were over in Europe. So the Flyers counteracted that by not playing some of their top guys. So you have, so many of these players not in an actual game for nearly 2 weeks. It was, I don't know.
I feel like
very bizarre.
I know. I think we saw the effects a little bit with the Flyers in the first period of their opener. They looked rusty, whereas the Canucks had already played a game. They were in their second game. This wasn't even the Canucks home opener. And it looked like they were the sharper team, where the Flyers were kind of knocking off some rust. And fortunately, Samuel Ersson was very good.
On his head.
And, gave them a chance to survive that first period. A wacky schedule, Brooke, without a doubt. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Whenever I think I can make sense of the schedule, something that doesn't make sense comes up with it. And you just can't really wrap your head around it. But the Flyers, I think, were making the best of it. And I don't think a team is ever going to hate time off. If they can get time off before the year to prepare and be ready, they'll take it. So It was certainly an interesting schedule.
Just that back-to-back right from the
start,
jump didn't make sense.
John Tortorella actually said he was open to that. Maybe he thought it would be good just to see guys experience it early, but it's not ideal though.
It's just confusing though, because, obviously you have that, Friday night in Vancouver where they're shaking off the rust and they really started figuring out toward the end of the first period. But turning things around so quickly after not playing for that extended period of time, that's what's concerning.
Mm-hmm.
And knocking on all of the wood possible, there were, I think, and I'm not going to go into so much of the preseason now that we're in the regular season, but there are too many preseason games in hockey. There are too many. And this was a year where you just saw so many injuries in the preseason, going from 0 to 100. You ease it in with a couple games, I think would be much more beneficial, and you ease your way into the season. Not, hey, this is done. Now you guys have a week off. Good luck. Now you have a back-to-back on the opposite coast. It was just, I don't know, something, it doesn't register with me, but it's done. It's over. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to complain about a split.
Yeah. No, I think the Flyers would absolutely take that. A split over this first weekend where, there was back-to-back with travel. And they saw a lot of young players play in this environment of this back-to-back. Matvei Michkov, one of them, Brooke, that made his debut, picked up his first point on Saturday night in the loss with an assist. I think everyone was excited to see Matvei Michkov. Brooke, one thing that really stands out to me, and I've said it time and time again, but it just continues to catch my eye, is how he gets better later in the game. It seems like he doesn't mind being tired. He finds another gear when he's tired. A lot of the great players do that. They get to another level when they start to feel their legs give out a little bit. What were your impressions of Michkov over these first 2 games?
Once, and I'm not saying the excitement has died down. The excitement is still very much there. He is so much fun to watch. And I think that I caught this pretty much halfway through the season opener. Every time he was out, I was watching him, because he is so instinctual out there. You're not thinking. He's just thinking on the fly. He's anticipating everything. He clearly is 2 to 3 steps ahead of everyone on the ice. And I mean, I can't even fathom how many assists that he's going to rack up this season because he is able to facilitate play. I mean, the goals are going to come for him as well, but you have a playmaker out there. And it is so fun to watch. Obviously, he gets his first point in the loss Saturday, but I mean, you can clearly tell that it's there. And he's doing things that can't be taught. And I think that's the biggest takeaway. It's so much fun. Welcome to Philly, Michkov. This is going to be a great year. It is, just because he's here. The excitement. I mean, you have fans staying up for a 10 o'clock home opener or season opener. I don't really think that would happen in previous years, except for the crazies. And I'm a crazy who would have done it in the past as well. But he gives you a reason to watch.
Yeah, he does. I couldn't agree more. His instincts really are elite. Like, you can see him seeing the game at a high level and anticipating the game at a high level. He is very fun. And Brooke, I'm thinking the same way. He's impressed me more as a facilitator than an actual goal scorer. And I know he's a goal scorer, and I think he's going to score goals over his career. But the way he is able to set guys up, I think he's been playing well off of Konecny. Like, Konecny and him, I think, have gelled in that regard, where Konecny, I think, is really going to benefit. We saw him benefit on Saturday night. He scores 2 goals, 1 shorthanded, and then 1 on the power play off a feed from Michkov. Michkov, especially on the power play too, we've talked so much about the power play and how it's a major storyline because of the struggles over the last 2 years and especially last year. Michkov has to make it better. Just the way
there's no way it doesn't improve.
The way he can thread those passes and get it into hard areas where you just don't think a play is there, and he sees it though. He's got to make the power play better. I think that should absolutely have the Flyers excited about. This area has been a really tough area for us, but we have this player who could potentially help it.
Yeah, and I mean, there was even the potential that both Michkov and Luchanko get their first points in the opening night because Michkov set up Luchanko, but you have Canucks goaltender Lankinen absolutely robbing him. I say 50% of the league, if you're going against somebody who's not standing on their head on a night like that, that's a goal. That's 2 first career points in the home opener. That, I mean, I watched that play so many times because Michkov just it's insane.
He just makes plays out of nothing.
It's effortless.
Yeah, it really is. And that's what I think is so intriguing about him, is the Flyers have long needed guys that can really make plays out of nothing. And there's times where, like, you think they're really struggling offensively, they look dead in the water, and they need a guy that can just go out and make a play. That's Matvei Michkov. Brooke, he almost had that, like you said, the shot, and then Luchanko on the rebound. Almost had Jett Luchanko getting his first goal in his first game. Speaking of Luchanko, Brooke, he sits Saturday night. Flyers, I think, just didn't want to push it. He's a kid that is not even 2 months after his 18th birthday, and they just figured, let's get Noah Cates in the lineup. Let's not push it. He's got a 9-game audition. He can, play those 9 games before the Flyers make a decision on his status for sending him back to junior or keeping him. What did you think of the decision to hold out Luchanko?
I was unfazed by it.
Yeah.
I mean, again, going on to the back-to-back, it's not, and I think the clarification is really important here too, that it's not 9 games with the team, it's 9 games that you dress for the team. So that second game in Calgary didn't count toward one of his 9 games. I think it was a smart play. It's a quick transition, still getting adapted to the NHL level. Why stress this rookie out when you also need to find ways to get Noah Cates into the lineup? I think it made full sense, and I see him playing the next 2 games on the road trip. We're not going to make something out of it. It is what it is.
Celebrity cook Steve Martirano brings his Italian-American cooking back home to Philly. Enjoy Martirano's Prime at Rivers Casino and Steve's famous meatballs with Sunday gravy, prime steaks, and more. Make reservations for Martirano's Prime on Open Table. Brooke, I didn't have a problem with it either. It's game 2 of 82. I trust the Flyers that they're looking out for his best
How
interests.
dare they bench the rookie?
Right.
No.
It's there was a lot of people probably questioning, gosh, is this kid ready? Are the Flyers rushing this kid?
I thought
Here
he
they are.
looked great.
Yeah, here they are looking out for him, in that regard. They want him to be here, but they're also not gonna push him or overextend him. I had no problem with it. If they thought it was best, he'll get in the lineup again. If this is happening a lot and it's just extending his stay, I don't think it's good if he's gonna be playing, sitting, playing, sitting, playing, sitting.
I just also don't think that's something that the Flyers would do.
Yeah,
they obviously want him to play.
I don't think they're gonna be doing that. I think this was strictly because it's a back-to-back after some time away from game action. So had no problem with it. I think Noah Cates is more than capable of getting in the lineup and impacting the game, and I don't think it's the reason why the Flyers lost. But I'm sure we're going to see Jett Luchanko coming up here, Brooke, in the next 2 road games before they come home for the home opener. And yeah, Brooke, what did you think of him in the opener? I didn't think he was great. I didn't think he was bad, but I thought we saw flashes of what he can do with his speed and his ability to play potentially in all situations. I like Luchanko's game. He didn't score, but was kind of behind the play on the one Canucks goal, but that happens.
It's
I
growing
think
pains.
I think there's upside there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I kind of felt the same way when we acquired Drysdale last year. The first time I saw him on the ice, I was like, wow, speed is such a factor in his game. And the same thing kind of transpired when I was watching Luchanko. Sometimes speed can be one of the best assets that you have because it can, mess up the opposition in the neutral zone if you can get ahead of a play. But it's going to happen. You're going to have growing pains. He's 18 years old. He's the youngest Flyer to ever make his debut.
Right.
let him figure it out. And I think the front office and Tortorella know that it's not going to be flip the switch. Here you go. Figure it out. He's going to work through it. And I think that he'll take what he learned from the season opener and apply it to the next time that he's on the ice.
I don't think he looked out of place. And that was the key for me. If he looks like he's overwhelmed or out of place, then I think the Flyers need to think long and hard about getting him back to junior. But if he looks like he belongs, even if he's blending in from time to time, it's not a bad thing. I don't need him standing out and being the best player every single time. It's just don't look out of place. Don't look overwhelmed. Look like you belong. And I think he looked like he belonged. That absolutely caught my eye. And Brooke, with the goaltending, it's always goaltending in Philadelphia.
What else is new?
Right? Samuel Ersson, excellent in the home opener. The season opener against the Canucks. And then Ivan Fedotov gets game 2. A little up and down. The Flames scored 6 goals. 1 was an empty netter. Let's first get into Ersson. Just how pleased were you with his performance?
Vancouver could have been up 4 or 5 goals at the end of the first period. Ersson was able to keep them right in that game, toe-to-toe, carry them. Obviously, they have this incredible shootout win to start off the season for the Flyers, but they don't get there if you don't have Ersson leading the way the first 20 minutes of the game and locking it down in the shootout. I thought he was great. And there was so much concern toward the end of last season where, he's getting tired out and there should we look for somebody else in the off season. And Ersson didn't train last year to come in as a 1A. He spent this whole offseason gearing up to be the guy. And I think he's somebody who has the potential to be that guy. And he shows it first 10 minutes of the season. Obviously, there's still some things to work out, as everyone else does the first couple weeks. But he has given you a sense of relief because he's making the plays that he needs to make, but he's also going above and beyond and stopping some things that could really sway a game early on.
Yeah. I think a team, a really good number one hides a team's flaws when a team's not playing well. And I thought he really kept the Flyers in that game in the first period. They let them kind of find their legs in the opener. Really good goaltenders, really true number ones do that. And he looked like a number one there, where he's making these really high-end, difficult saves, and the game's still right within reach for the Flyers. I thought he was great, and I think his 2 preseason starts and this one absolutely easing some concerns of, hey, this guy's first-time number one. How's he going to look? Now, it's a long season, but Ersson is off to a great start. No one should be complaining about a goalie and a great start to start the year. Yes, it's a long year, but it's very positive that he is not a storyline for the wrong reason. Brooke, with Fedotov, I really didn't think the numbers told the true story. I didn't think he was as bad as the numbers looked.
I agree.
The first goal is as fluky as it gets, a bounce off of Jonathan Huberdeau. 2 of the goals he gave up were power play goals. One was a 5-on-3, really tough there. And another goal was a 2-on-1 odd man rush where the Flyers had 4 guys in the offensive zone, only 1 guy back. Was he perfect? No. And I'm not going to excuse a game where he gives up 5 goals. But I think it would be irrational to say, like, this guy's not an NHL goalie. Like, this is his second career start. Let's give it some time and see how he plays. What did you think?
Retweet. No, yeah. Exactly that. Nail on the head, Jordan Hall. You can't rip a guy apart who has had such a little experience starting in games. And you're crazy if you think Ersson should have started back to back, because that was never going to happen. And you need Fedotov to just kind of settle in. It's kind of the same thing, just on a different scale with Luchanko. You need to adapt to the pro level, and it's going to take some time to figure that out. And the way to do that is to play. He's going to figure it out. I don't have concerns. When you have someone who is 6'7" in net, he's occupying 80% of the net anyways. So,
yeah,
as long that's a joke, by the way.
He's tall.
No, copy big guy.
Copy big human.
But he has the ability. I just think it's going to take some time to figure it out. Yep. And until we see a really decent sample size, and I'm not saying 3 to 5 games, I'm saying maybe it's got to go like 10 to 15 before you can really be like, okay, here we go. What's going to happen? I don't think there's any reason to bring that concern in yet until we hit that mark. And also, you don't know how he's going to be utilized. Are they going to go every other game? Is he only going to go on the back end of back-to-backs? You don't know. We have to figure that out as the season plays on. So there's no concern yet.
Yeah, I agree. Fedotov needs to play, and for a couple reasons. One, they can't ride Samuel Ersson into the ground, especially early in the year.
Nope.
And 2, they need to figure out what Ivan Fedotov is. They need to get a ton of looks at Ivan Fedotov. I think it's a big reason why I think he played the most of any goalie in the preseason. They were trying to get him comfortable, trying to get looks at him as much as possible. And that's the same in the regular season. They got to give him games to get him to look at him and see what he is, and they get him into a routine. Will they play Samuel Ersson more often than not? Yeah, they should. He's the number one, but they cannot get away from Ivan Fedotov. They got to get looks at him. And I'm really just not going to overreact to this game Saturday night. He wasn't perfect, but he was in a tough spot as well for a lot of those goals. There was actually a number of saves, Brooke, where I thought it looked like a surefire goal, and he made the save. And that I thought was promising too. He has the ability to make those big saves because of his size, because of his length. I think, Brooke, at times he looked a little unorthodox, but I think that's just because he's so big.
Oh, yeah. I have a feeling I would be the same exact way.
Right.
You're a big human being.
He's kind of flailing all over the place at times, but he's 6'7", he's long. It's probably tough to control the body when you're going really hard in one direction, and all of a sudden you have to stop. It's
right.
As long as he's making the save, I think that's all you care about.
Right. Keep the puck out of the net. Do whatever you got to do.
That's right. But Brooke, shifting gears a little bit, I wanted to ask you about Travis Konecny and just his start. 2 goals. The shorthanded power kill at it again.
Power kill is back.
Does Konecny look like a guy that can lead this team? I know you've been high on him in terms of 40-goal upside if he stays healthy. Did you like Konecny's start? And is he a guy that can kind of push this rebuild into another gear?
I think the way that you said Konecny is good for Michkov, I think Michkov's also good for Konecny.
Yeah.
Because you have somebody who can facilitate, and then you have somebody who can finish now between the two of them. And I think it could be a really fun tandem throughout the whole season. But yeah, I have always been high on Konecny, and, people sometimes not giving him credit where it is so rightfully due. The past 2 years, if he stays healthy for 82 games, he breaks 40 goals.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not something that happens for an average okay player. He's somebody who's kind of flown under the radar because he hasn't hit that 82 or, ballpark number. And I feel like maybe he's going to come out this year with, all right, I am one of the top guys on this team. And he's a humble dude. Like he would never come out and say something like that, but he's going to show it. Yeah. And I think that it's great because he works his tail off, and it's crazy to think that he's almost 10 years in this league now because it does not feel like that. I just think there's so much upside to him that we still haven't seen. And I think that we get to see a lot more of that this year with Michkov. So it's going to be a fun duo.
Agreed. And it was cool when Michkov got his first point on Konecny's goal.
Yeah.
Konecny saw Michkov so excited, and right away Konecny was like, oh, right, that's his first point.
Mm-hmm.
And went and made a beeline for the puck, scooped it up, and you could see him say, congrats, buddy. And he, said, I got the puck for you. And Michkov was so happy. And like that was cool to see Konecny. He just very much looks like a leader.
Yeah.
Like, he looks like a guy that's like excited about these young players, knows it's his time to now lead the way, and, is looking out for Michkov and Jett Luchanko. And
it's been an awesome transition to see him kind of be this younger, spunky, I guess is the word, aggressive kind of younger guy on this team to transition. And he's still spunky and aggressive, and but he's being that vet now for these younger guys. And that transition, it happened, I want to say, very seamlessly.
Yeah.
Even from last year to this year, the jump, what you've seen from him, training camp, preseason games up till the first 2 games of the season, it's admirable for TK. And I hope that it's recognized the way that it deserves to be.
Yeah, I think it's what convinced the Flyers to sign him to the extension, was that he got better over the last 2 seasons significantly. The team got better, and he very much personified what the Flyers want from a guy night in, night out, for how they want a Flyer to play.
Leaves it all out there.
Leaves it all
every
out there.
Shift, every game.
Doesn't care that he's a little smaller. He plays like a Flyer. I think that's what convinced the Flyers that this was a guy they want to sign long term. Brooke, one other observation I had, Owen Tippett looks like he could be an all-situation player. Opening night, he played more minutes at shorthanded than he did all of last season on the PK.
Because why not?
Why not, though? And I really think the Flyers see his speed and how dynamic he can be there. And you see Konecny and Scott Lawton, the guys that play with really good instincts, and they put pressure on the opposing power play. And it kind of hit me that it's year 1 of his extension. He's being paid top dollar now in terms of their forwards, and typically your top dollar guys play in all situations. So this was kind of like, I was surprised, like, oh wow, Owen Tippett on the PK, but then it hit me, no, it's
like he's one of their guys.
He's one of their guys, and those
he's in the new era, and he's locked into the new era.
Your guys play in all situations. Like, do you think he could be a really effective PKer? And does that mean suddenly we're going to see maybe 30, 35 goals?
That would be great.
Yeah, I think that would.
Yeah, I just think, and it comes back to when they decided to do the extension with him in the middle of last season. And I think it was really telling from Flyers front office to make sure that it's done at a year where everyone was going in being like, you may not be a part of this team when it's ready to compete. They went to him and they said, we want you to be a part of this. Here's this monster extension. Here's the big bucks. We trust you. We believe in you. Show us what you've got. And I think that from the jump this year, that's exactly what you've gotten. So, I mean, I have to agree. Like, there's the potential that you could have 4, potentially 5 guys that could have 30 plus goals this year. And in the past, that seems incredibly unrealistic. But I mean, we didn't even touch on Tyson Forrester, who I think was he stood out to me in such a great way in the season opener, where it's his sophomore campaign, and I kind of think that you have those rookie jitters, off his back, and he's ready to roll. I mean, I was cracking up. The Flyers intermission live crew was talking to Forrester at the end of the first period, And he was talking like he was a seasoned vet, which had me cracking up because they were referencing, how does it feel, the energy with Michkov and Luchanko out there for the rookie game? And he goes, oh, yeah, I remember my rookie game like it was yesterday. It basically was, Tyson. What are you talking about?
Wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, but I just feel like you now have some of these younger guys, too, feeling so composed and comfortable. And I think all of these assets are going to carry over through the season. There's so much good to be talking about right now.
Yeah.
And I'm having fun.
Yeah.
So I hope everyone else is having fun.
Yeah. So much of the Flyers rebuild will be dictated on what's the next step for a number of these younger players. Like Tyson Forster, what's the next step for him? Can he get to 25, 30 goals? Can he continue to be relied upon in all situations? Owen Tippett, can he be a PKer now where he's like the guy on the ice all the time for the Flyers? The list goes on, and the questions are there.
And even just have to give the credit to Forster's too, dropping the gloves.
Yeah.
With the Drysdale hit.
Yeah, it was cool. Him and Farabee tried to do it when Drysdale took a couple big hits. Farabee dropped the gloves and Coleman didn't want to fight. That was, is what it is. But Forster got right in there, no hesitation either. On the first time Drysdale took the hit.
Fight ever.
First fight ever, Forster. I believe, in his career.
And
yeah.
I think that takes a lot of guts from a younger kid.
Yeah.
Just being like, you can't mess around.
Yeah.
With you can't throw our guys around. And there are so many positives to that. And I just wanted to add that onto my Tyson tandem.
Yeah, no, that was very cool.
It was just awesome.
He lived in the penalty box for that game because of the instigator and the conduct, game misconduct. But so he was out of action, but for all the right reasons he did that. And I think Tortorella wasn't mad that he was in the penalty box for as long as he was. I think he understood he was standing up for a teammate, and that's kind of a culture building thing. And that was very, very cool to see.
Yeah.
Well, Brooke, 2 games are in the books. We have 2 more 10 o'clock starts. Tuesday night's game is on a national broadcast, ESPN, but then Thursday back on NBC Sports Philadelphia. Saturday, the home opener.
That's right.
So, Brooke, we'll have it all covered
Wrapping up their regular season series against Vancouver.
I know, right? We'll see the Canucks the rest of the way, unless it's in the Stanley Cup.
Knock it out.
But get the Canucks over and done with. Well, Brooke, so great to see you. So happy to have you back on the Flyers Talk podcast.
I'm happy to be back, Jordan.
She is happy to be back. We are happy to have her back. And we can't wait to have her on again coming up next week. A big thank you to Ben Berry, our podcast producer and guru. And Flyers fans, of course, as always, thank you so much for listening to the latest Flyers Talk podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, please rate and listen. And we can't wait to talk to you next time.